Can I actually ask you, just to focus in on action, you've created a lot of epic action films. What makes for a great action film?
It comes down to the character. Like if you think about what are the best action films? What are your favorite films? Like Die Hard. He's a cop, so he's still capable, but he's not Superman. The fact that he's like in over his head and you're rooting for him, that's a great character. John Wick, he is Superman, but he's retired and now he's pissed off and he's going back into a job. So it comes down to the character really being very important because the action will then have a character to it.
I think Leon the Professional.
That's a character.
I mean, that's all about character.
Now that when I say we're going to do action movies, I mean movies that are really action first. Like there's some movies that are more dramas that have action.
Where's the boundary? So John Wick is action.
That's more action, but it has character in it, but it's action driven.
What about like Predator?
Predator is a sci-fi action film. So that's kind of a hybrid, which I like, but sometimes it's hard for the audience to know what they're buying into.
Got it.
Like they focused a lot on the action in the trailer, and then you felt there was some otherworldly thing, but you didn't really know. But it's a great movie.
So Die Hard is a good example.
It was a good example, right? I can think of right off where there's a character that really made the difference. And then everyone repeated that. For a while, there was like Under Siege. I was like a regular guy who's really actually has some training on a ship now. And then on the bus, you got a cop. He's a cop, but he's not super cop.
Yeah.
So that's why you root for him. That became an element that people repeated a lot.
What about Taken?
That's a great one. That's a great character who is superhuman.
Yeah.
Who's also retired. So there's like a superhero type character in an extraordinary circumstance. Like that's now his daughter's taken, right? And then there's ordinary people like the Terminator. That's a great character. Not the Terminator, he's a villain, but Sarah Connor, who is a waitress, doesn't think her life's going anywhere. And she finds out she's the mother of the guy who's going to save the human race. And she's got to train him. Suddenly she has to become someone else. Those are cool movies because it's a genesis of a character. And you see a character go from waitress to revolutionary.
They step up, yeah. What about mob movies? I mean, some of them are like Godfather is really not about, it's not action.
Not an action movie. Drama that has some action.
Right. I mean, John Wick is a mob film in some sense. Goodfellas. I mean, there's a lot of dynamic action, but there's really not action first.
That's really a character type piece.
Okay.
Great. Freaking amazing. And it feels like action by the way he does it. It's just like that. It's like fast paced, fast talking, fast moving. Like Escape from New York is one of my favorites since I was a kid. Because every movie, you'll notice this now that I tell you, even like a romantic comedy, there's a timeline. Every movie has to have like a ticking clock. So the audience knows this story is not just going to take over a period of years. So suddenly someone in the movie around 20 or 30 minutes in will say, we've got to go find the groom before the wedding this weekend. It'll be just like that. Escape from New York has the best example of a ticking time clock because he's literally got bombs in his neck and he's got a watch that shows him. He's constantly clocking it, how little time he has. And he gets you so like, oh my God, is he going to make it? That's like the best use of that. And no one's ever topped that ticking time clock. All the other ones seem artificial in comparison. Aliens, we got to get off this planet now because this whole thing's going to blow up. There's a timeline. It's already urgent, but now there's an extra timeline on it.
Yeah.
This is what happens.
As you're talking, you're just making me fall in love more and more with action films. I sometimes you forget how much you love action.
A really good action film.
Yeah.
In fact, like the Terminator. Oh my God. The original Terminator just came out in 4K. I've been watching it again. It looks like better than most movies look today. And that's a $4 million movie. It looks incredible. I mean, you can see every bead of sweat in this movie. I was watching it again with somebody, a female, and there's always a point when you're watching that movie where she'll turn and say, I love this movie. What point that is? It's the point where Michael Biehn tells her, I came across time for you, Sarah. I love you, which is, I always have. And you're just like, oh my God, there's like a real emotional love story there that he put into Titanic, that he put into Avatar. He figured out that thing that makes those movies work.
By the way, I should say that, I mean, there is an aspect of El Mariachi that is a love story. To me,
yeah, there was a love story.
I don't know if you see it that way, but I just rewatched it, I was
it's a tragic love story.
But I was like heartbroken that she's dead.
I got heartbroken twice. Let me tell you the second time it happened. One, you're making that and you go, okay, this is how it has to go. But then now you're invested in this person. You go, oh man, she has to die. It's going to be really sad. In fact, the studio even, when they said they were going to remake it, good thing I put that ending on That's the only reason they showed it to an audience. We were gonna remake it. They weren't gonna put that movie out. They showed it, said, "We need to show this movie to an audience because they might not like the fact that we killed a girl before we remake it." All right. They showed it to an audience. The audience liked it the way it was. So they said, "We're gonna take this movie to some film festivals." And I was like, "No, not this movie. This is my practice movie. No one's supposed to see this movie."
Yep.
And they go, "No, no, but you got something." No, no, dude, if I knew anyone was going to see this, I would have shot it completely different. Give me $2,000. I'll go reshoot half of it. Just knowing people are going to see it. I want something. And the head of the studio was really smart. He said, "You don't know what you have here. It's very something really special. Let's take it to Telluride, see what happens." Telluride, Toronto did great. Like I said, and it won Sundance. So now we had to put it out. But I was like, I would have said, don't show that movie. But they also questioned the ending and didn't come into play because we ended up making Desperado. And the girl in Desperado doesn't die. You know, we didn't do that. We didn't kill Salma, but that's what needed to happen in Mariachi. Quentin called me one time. People would always say like, "Oh, Reservoir Dogs." He borrowed from this movie, Hong Kong action film called City on Fire. It's about these guys that are all criminals and they kill each other, whatever. And he said, "Hey, they're showing a double feature called East Looks West and West Looks East. They're showing Reservoir Dogs with City on Fire, the one they say I borrowed from, and they're showing Mariachi with a Hong Kong film called Run, where they ripped off Mariachi. Like they just took the whole story. It had two, Chinese actors in Mexico with the guitar cases. They just followed it beat by beat.
Mhm.
So we're watching it, and it was like scene by scene. They just remade it without even getting the rights or anything. It was so fun to watch. So we saw Mariachi first, then we watched that one, and I'm like, "What's this big brothel scene though? This isn't my movie. The bad guy. Oh, there's this scene in my movie where the bad guy has two girls in bed with him, and they
Yeah.
figured that was a whorehouse, but it was just his apartment.
Yeah.
So they got this whorehouse
So
built up.
they're
But yeah,
reinterpreted it.
and they have helicopter shots and all kinds of
Nice.
big thing, and the action was awesome.
Yeah.
But then and the girl's really good, and then midway through the movie, I'm like, "Oh shit, she's gonna die because I killed her in mine. I don't want her to die.
Yeah.
I like this actress is really
Yeah.
great, and they have a really great love story." I go, "Well, I hope they change that part." No, they kill her. So I felt bad twice because I sealed her fate. I sealed her fate because
Yeah.
I have a line in Spy Kids too, because I started thinking when you create stuff, you start thinking, I wonder if that's how our creator is. He's like, "Oh shit, I just kind of threw that in a memo and now that whole town's going to get wiped out."
Yeah.
I didn't even think about the implications of that. Cause there's a line I was making a character that Steve Buscemi plays in Spy Kids 2, and he's a creator. He just wanted to make a little miniature zoo for kids. And then he thought, well, what if I put some together like a lizard with a snake and it's a slizzard, or you have a spider monkey, which is like literally spider legs and a monkey top. So he makes that. And then he thought, hey, why don't I make him a little bit bigger for kids that have big hands? And it got out of control and they turned into these huge creatures and now they're trying to eat him. So he's hiding. The kids find him hiding. And he says this one line that people keep coming. It's on the internet a lot. This meme about this. Why is this line, this movie? It's so wild. I thought I wanted Steve to come up to the camera and like he's lost in his own creative world. And he says, I can't even go outside because my own creations are going to eat me. And he comes up to the camera and he goes, do you think God hides in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he created here on earth? It's like really just for a moment,
Yeah.
this thing. And it's like, because you feel like that way when you're creating stuff, like you're creating something and then now it's taking on a life of its own. And it's like, oh no, now this character has to die. Oh, I didn't want that, this domino effect of creation. And you start thinking, well, that must be what creation. Maybe he is hiding up there because look at he didn't expect all this shit to happen, giving us free will and all that.
I mean, in this particular context, you are the creator of this story, and it for some reason makes me feel good to know that you feel the pain of this character dying.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like if I'm writing it, but if it's not coming from me, I'm as surprised sometimes. And Quentin would say that, he'd say, you just get two characters talking when I'm writing my script, and then suddenly they're just talking to each other. And I was like, what does that mean? And now I know what that means. It's like he just
Yeah,
gave them life, and now
that's
the
it.
dialogue's coming through them.